This is the Anything Goes with Jackson Neill podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jackson Neill, and today have a very, very cool interview with the artist Nix. But before we jump right into that, just want to let you guys know you guys can listen to this podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, but also on jacksonneillpodcasts.com, the official home for all of the podcasts that I publish. And please note, this is a video interview, so if you're not on a video platform, maybe you want to head over, click down on the first link down in the show notes, and then you can head over to a video platform like YouTube or the website to check out the video portion to this interview with Nix. So, Nix is an up-and-coming artist who just released some of her first singles, Taste Like Sugar and Playing With Fire. She has that kind of new age pop sound that I'm a really, really big fan of, and I think kind of grabs your ear and really pulls you in as a listener. So I talked with her about her start in music, these latest singles, what she has going forward, and just her story in general. A really, really fun person to talk with. This is my conversation with Nix. Just released your latest tracks, Taste Like Sugar, Playing With Fire. Can you just tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, so I really wanted to create, with Taste Like Sugar, I really wanted to create just a fun bubblegum pop song that was akin to the music I grew up listening to, which was obviously pop like the Spice Girls, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle, and I really just wanted something fun that would be great for the summer. So that's how Taste Like Sugar sort of came about. I thought a name like that would be really, enticing. And we just kind of went from there. And my writers, co-writers, and producer Nick Schwartz and Ethan Hulse are also the masterminds behind this. So it's simple, but it's so fun, and I think it's catchy.
Yeah, it definitely is. I really like that track, Taste Like Sugar. And how about Playing With Fire? Because I read that has something to do with a little bit of a relationship.
Yeah, well, Playing With Fire. So we wrote Taste Like Sugar first, and I thought, okay, what is basically the complete opposite of what we just wrote? And Taste Like Sugar is basically, about being in a new relationship and all the highs you feel from it. So I thought, okay, what is the complete opposite? And that was Playing With Fire, and basically everything that could go wrong in a relationship, which was funny for me because I was actually just in a new relationship at the time when I wrote both of these songs. So I kind of put on both hats thinking, okay, it could go this way or it could go this way. And I wanted to create something darker, which is kind of where my own personal music, I think I naturally gravitate to, like a darker tone. So I think that's more that song speaks to me more as an artist. But they're both fun, and I just wanted to give people two different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I kept seeing them. They were obviously released together, right near each other.
Yeah.
And kind of paired like that. I find that interesting that you say your music tends to lead a little bit more to the darker side, especially after releases like this. Is it hard for you to maybe step out of the box and try to maybe do a more uplifting song or a positive song like Taste Like Sugar?
No, which is, I guess, the irony. But I guess it's because pop music for so long. I mean, now I feel like, with the rise of The Weeknd, he's creating a lot more, I guess you could call them darker songs with, deeper meanings. But I think pop music for so long, everything has been so happy. It's been in like major chords. Now we're looking at more, if you look at the trend of pop music, everything is like shifting towards a minor key, and everything has these darker undertones. But I think because growing up in a time when there was like, Barbie Girl by Aqua, all these just fun poppy songs is kind of like innate to me in that regard. But as a person on a personal level, I guess it's easier to write darker. So it's not that it's hard to switch. It's quite easy. It's just, I guess, whatever I'm feeling in the moment.
Okay, yeah, I definitely understand that, and you keep mentioning like these '90s pop and the early 2000s pop kind of people, and I read that you're also inspired by those as well as old school crooners. Can you tell me a little bit about your inspirations?
Yeah, well, growing up, jazz was always in the house, blues was always in the house. So Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., basically the Rat Pack, Dean Martin, as well as B.B. King. And I guess that's where you could say that influence of, the more quote unquote depressing darker side comes from, because blues music is rooted from not the greatest circumstances, but yeah, so I've always been sort of infatuated with I guess film noir as well, which Dean Martin was also a super famous film star. And just classic music, simple. You don't need sometimes always so much production, just a piano or a bass and vocals, and that can make a hit. And I was always inspired by the simplicity of that type of music.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you think of those people, especially Frank Sinatra, I mean, a lot of his songs, that even became big. I think of like One for My Baby, One for My Road, not the most uplifting song there.
I know. Yeah.
But I find that really interesting, and I think, so how are you able to kind of blend these inspirations, blend these influences to kind of a middle ground with the old school and the new school kind of idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to find a top 40 sound by blending them, but luckily Bruno Mars has paved the way for that. Meghan Trainor has paved the way for that. They both have a lot of, obviously top 40 pop songs, but with a lot of big band elements, a lot of, jazz elements. And that sort of opened the door for more, allowing more pop music of today to sound something like from the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially Bruno Mars. I think of a lot of songs by him that have that kind of influence.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have these latest singles. I want to touch a little bit on like as you as an artist as a whole. How did you get started making music?
Well, that's a really good question. I guess everybody always has their sort of weird journey path. It's not, point A to point B. It's like a zigzag and I don't know, everything in between. I guess, I've been playing the violin since I was about 9. I've been singing in choir since I was really young. So I knew I always loved music, but in terms of creating music, I think most young girls, and I touched upon this in another interview, they grew up singing and dancing, in their bedroom, but you never really think that maybe I could make a career out of this. And I honestly didn't think that was something I could do either until, I guess, late high school, early university. And I was like, I don't just enjoy this. Like, I love it. Like, it's something that I really want to pursue professionally. So I would say at about 16, 17, it's when I really started to contact people, explore my options. Okay, how can I get into this and make my own music? I started with a YouTube channel in high school and obviously doing cover songs because that helped garner a lot of traction onto my channel. But I guess to sustain yourself as an artist and not just as a karaoke singer, you need to create your own original content. And that's how I sort of, I decided, okay, I really need a network. Can I find producers? Can I find writers who can help me make my own original stuff and get it out there?
Gotcha. And who were some of those people I guess you met, and how did that start out?
Right. So I met a gentleman by the name of Roy Hamilton III here in Toronto. He's actually a very prolific music producer from the States. But he came up to Toronto about, I think, 4 or 5 years ago now. And I did a couple of singles with him, which I love, and they're also on my Spotify and iTunes. And then he introduced me to a gentleman down in Nashville who really started getting the ball rolling. And this is the gentleman who helped me put together these 2 songs, Playing with Fire and Taste Like Sugar. And his team, Nick Schwartz, Ethan Hulse, who are my co-writers and producers on these tracks. And they really, they're the masterminds, like I said, behind these songs.
Totally. And Nashville's a really cool place to be writing music and to be producing music at.
Yes, it was scary. I'd never been to Nashville before. Obviously, I've heard of it. But I'd never been, so that was really nerve-wracking. It is hot there. Oh my gosh, so hot. But luckily, I always tell people, luckily every store, every building you enter is very well air-conditioned, so that was good.
They have things figured out down there. That sells me.
They do. They definitely know how to manage the heat. But no, everyone down there is super sweet. And yeah, it was super nerve-wracking because I'd never met my co-writers or producer before either. It was like I just went into their studio and it was like, hi, nice to meet you, and let's make a hit song, hopefully. But we managed to do it. So it was a great experience, yeah.
And I guess that leads me to ask, how does it help you as an artist to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, going down to a new place, meeting new people in a new studio in a new setting?
Right. It helps a lot. It really, I think anything you do that gets you out of your comfort zone, no matter what profession you're in, is really beneficial because it helps answer the question, like, is this something you even want to do? Because if you're even too scared to, go there, or, you do make that leap of faith and you go and then you realize, this is like too much for me, it's too overwhelming, at least you realize, hey, maybe this isn't something for me. But obviously that was quite the opposite for me. And I thought, oh my God, this is something I definitely want to do. I'm just glad that I, made the decision to go down there and took the risk, because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe we didn't mesh, and that would have been very unfortunate. But we did, and that was great. So, overall, I just think that anybody, no matter where you're from, you need to step out of your comfort zone if you really want to see if this is something that you want to do.
Definitely. So, you have these singles, you had that awesome story going down to Nashville and everything. So now what are you currently working on following these two releases?
So I'm currently in the process of really trying to get my songs on the radio. I'm working with a bunch of radio promoters. Just trying to get more people to hear my stuff, because that's what it's about. I always think that what's so great about the current time that we're in is that, yes, anybody can release music and put it on Spotify, so it gives more people an opportunity to have their music out there. But at the same time, there's now so much, and the industry is so saturated with, like, literally millions and millions of songs, and just trying to get the right ears, really trying to get marketed to my audience and who will want to listen to me, so that I can actually make a name for myself instead of sort of being buried amongst thousands and thousands of people. So, getting on radio, doing little things like this, not little, it's big. Yeah. So thank you.
No problem.
But really just any way to connect with people, and get them to hear my music and hear my story.
That definitely, and I gotta respect that, because I feel like a lot of artists don't take that into consideration, because you're right. I mean, there's so many songs I get, whether it's passed along or just look on Apple Music and hear the fact that you're able to maybe try to step through that and break through that and get to the right people is so important.
Right, because I think a lot of people think that, I'll just make a really, really good song. And I don't know about you, but I've gone on Spotify playlists, Apple Music, and you come across an artist that you've maybe never heard of before, and you listen to one of their songs and you're like, damn, like, that's a great song. Like, how come this person isn't famous, or how come I haven't heard of this song before? And it's like, because there's literally so many, how can you? And people forget that another half, the other big chunk of it all is promotion and making a name for yourself, by getting yourself out there. And sometimes you need to do it yourself. Sometimes you have a great team behind you. And usually it's a mixture of both.
Exactly. It's that blending those two together.
Yeah.
So one other thing I wanted to ask you about is, I think I read somewhere you're working on an EP with these two songs being included.
Yeah. So when I was in Nashville, we worked Monday to Friday, and we wrote a song a day, so 5 songs. So that will be my EP. And so far I've released the first 2. So I would love to, hopefully in the very near future, put out the EP. And of course it will include Taste Like Sugar and Playing With Fire. I wanted to release those though first as little teas, see if people are liking it, and just give them a taste for what the rest of the EP will sound like.
Definitely. How about any live shows? Got anything like that planned for 2019?
I do. Well, I have a small gig. I actually haven't booked the date yet, so I wish I could say, but I can't say. But sometime in July, late July, early August, Otherwise, I'm just in the midst of, trying to put together a bunch of live shows. So I should have those up on my website shortly if people want to check that out. But otherwise, right now, I don't have anything.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'll definitely have all the links to your website and everything down in the description of this. But, you have all this EP coming out. You have these 2 singles out. Just how are you feeling right now and heading into the rest of 2019?
I'm feeling good. So far the reaction from family, friends, and strangers has been awesome. So that's amazing. Scary, nerve-wracking, exciting, anxious. Can I keep the momentum up? How can I keep the momentum up? These are all questions that every artist should obviously be asking themselves, because you don't just want to fizzle out. You really got to keep on that high that you're riding. So that's currently where I'm at. I feel like I can't, there really is no break. Like everyone thinks like, oh, now you can just relax. Like, no, I can't relax right now. Like I need to keep it going. Like there is no end. You just got to keep pushing and you got to keep grinding. So it sounds stressful and sounds like something you might not want to, nobody should ever want to get into. But like I said, if you're passionate for it and it's what you love, it's like the only option. So that's where I'm at.
Exactly. If it's what you love, it's what you want to do, then keep on doing it.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for the interview.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Again, a big thank you to Nix for coming onto the podcast. Remember, go down in the show notes on whatever platform you are listening to. There you'll find links to her social medias, her songs, Taste Like Sugar, Playing With Fire, where to keep up with her upcoming releases, just everything you need to know and keep up to date with Nix. A big thank you for her to come onto the podcast. Had a great time chatting with her. And that'll do it for this edition of Anything Goes with Jackson Neill. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can check this podcast as well as my other podcasts, the sports and music ones, over at jacksonneillpodcasts.com. That's where I publish all of my content. Also, if you're a big fan of this show or a big fan of this interview, head over to Patreon. Link to that down in the show notes. There you can catch bonus content from this very episode with Nix, as well as bonus content from all of my other interviews I do for Anything Goes, in addition to bonus content from my sports and music podcasts. Any little bit of support you provide on there really, really does help. I'm a college student doing these podcasts, so every penny really, really does count. Also, the last links down there in the show notes are links to my social medias at JacksonNeill20 on Instagram and Twitter. Give me a follow on those platforms if you like the content. That way you can stay up to date on everything that I am up to. Well, that's everything I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you all next time.